easily corrected. But too much B12 can cause horrible side effects, even death. My girls are now showing similar side effects to what has been described in medical reports, and their B12 levels are over triple the tolerant amount, and the medical report says that this was held back for 5 months. This was because the shots they were forced to take. My lawyer is presenting evidence in medical case studies which will explain this. About a month ago, I was with a Barnevernet lady named Alysha for a scheduled visit with my 2 daughters. She picked me up in her car and drove me to the girls' school. Alysha instructed me to go in and pick up the girls in school, and she waited for us in the car. When I entered the school to pick up the girls, they saw me and both came running with joy. Several teachers immediately rushed over and grabbed the girls, holding them back from me. One of the teachers grabs me and pushed me back. The teacher that was holding the kids back said, "These children cannot go anywhere." I explained immediately that Alysha was waiting in the car and she told me to get the girls. And they started getting loud and said I was lying. They immediately sent another teacher out to the school parking lot to search for Alysha. And when they found her, they confirmed my story was true. But still, they would not let me take them until she herself came to get them. After the incident, I spoke to the principal and asked her why I was treated that way. And the principal said the school was simply following direct and specific orders from Barnevernet. This was just before my lawyer called the school to inquire about the condition of the girls, because I was very worried about what they themselves had told me and what I've seen with my own eyes. The principal would not tell her anything at all about the girls. Principal was not. She did not get any information about their attendance. She could not get information about their attendance record due to a gag order issued by Barnevernet. Are they really allowed to issue a gag order against the mother's lawyer? This is the situation now, but I'm thinking ahead of myself. I should come back to the court report with all the lies about it. For my first year in Vos, I was living in a big house with a huge yard and a lot of property. And I was living there with my 2 daughters and my mother. While we were living there, everything was fine. The social control said it was too far from town. So they forced us into a tiny apartment in town with no yard, claiming that the location was wise. It would be more convenient for the children. We had no choice about this. Several social workers immediately started insisting that my mother had to move out or the children would be taken because the apartment was way too small. A short time later, my mother found a house in Woodstock and moved. After that, my life became a nightmare. Barnevernet was living a block away from my apartment. And as soon as my mother moved, they came almost every day searching the apartment and looking for a problem. To be perfectly honest, sometimes the apartment was messy. We had more stuff than we had places to put. Besides that, the Barnevernet kept on bringing back big bags of used torn clothes that didn't fit anything, and tons of used linens. I made several huge black garbage bags full of stuff, demanded that I keep all the stuff or bring it to Playtex. And I couldn't even lift the bags. She often came in without even knocking. And as I just said, drop all this stuff off, several other times Barnevernet people came into my apartment when nobody was home. I didn't even know how they got in. I know this because Barnevernet yelled it at me. He screamed he screamed I was leaving too much of a mess when I went to work. Yelled and screamed at me so much, it really scares me. And Essie used to have nightmares about it. Several times I told that the place was too messy, so I made a real effort to clean up, but I was told it was not good enough. I will say things when I will say things more difficult without my mother around. But they forced her to move out, and I dealt with it. At the same time period, my grandfather died, and later on, my best friend died. I was harassed by Barnevernet on the phone and in person. They were always yelling at me, and I must admit I was overwhelmed and it got to be too much. All through this, Barnevernet was stalking me and making demands. It was common to have a house full of kids running around, and the door was sometimes left open. On one occasion, the girls had friends over, and I later discovered that three of the kids in my living room I didn't recognize, and the girls didn't know them either. The kids were almost about his own children. He came later and he yelled at me that his own children reported a mess. I think that was strange because they don't live in the neighborhood and they have never been around before. My defense, all the kids were running around and making a mess. And his kids were part of it. So it's really crazy that they should be counted as witnesses against me when they're partially responsible for creating the mess they received. And if they could be witness against me at such a young age, why are my daughters not allowed to testify for themselves? I can go on and on about the details, but what's really important is what's happening now. I have a very suitable house with a nice yard around the corner from the school my girls are going to. My mother lives in the apartment downstairs. And each of the girls have a separate room and plenty of play space. The setup is really a dream come true for them. But without the twins, it means nothing. It's so much better than where we are. It's so much better than where they are now. Not to mention that my house, they won't be scared or unhealthy. My daughters are so unhappy, and all they want is to come home. Every time I see them, they beg me to take them home. Alora told me that they both cry themselves to sleep every night. My birthday was the beginning of October, and Alora and her sister asked if they can please come for a visit to see their mother on their birthday, and they were told no. So I asked if there was any way I could at least see them for an hour and bring them some cupcakes, but I was told absolutely not. I later received a handmade birthday card from the girls, and I want to add it as evidence, even in the card, the children asked to please come home. Please think about this very carefully and imagine how traumatic this whole thing is on them. Barnevernet says we have a new relationship, the home situation wasn't possible. But if that was so, why would the girls want to come back so bad? Besides, the entire home situation has changed for the better. My work and school performance has improved. In fact, now I'm going to start a computer class next semester. There's no reason why the girls need to be in foster care. They should have never been taken away because of lies. The children feel like they are being punished and they just want to come home. Please let them come home. There's no reason not to.
No.